as part of our meditation this evening, these words of J. Krishnamurti describing a moment in meditation for him. At that moment, meditation was freedom. And it was like entering into an unknown world of beauty and quietness. It was a world without image, without symbol or word. It was a world without waves of memory. Love was the depth of every minute, and each depth was the renewing of love. It was not attachment. It had no roots. It flowered without cause, and it was a flame that burned away the borders, the carefully built fences of consciousness. That moment of meditation was beauty beyond thought and feeling. It was not put together on canvas, in words, or in marble. That moment, meditation was joy, and with it came a benediction. Even though those were beautiful words, poetic words, they were still words from another, describing a moment of beauty and joy. But for us to have our own moment through meditation of our own joy, our own beauty and quietness, we have to move into the witnessing mode and let things happen by themselves, without expectation, without force, without demand, just allowing the movement beyond time and space, beyond name and form. So watch and feel through effortless awareness. One of the reasons that many of Sri Brahmananda's students and disciples have been with him for 20, 30, and in our case more than 40 years, is because he was an unusual guru. Different from many, because there are many gurus who are concerned about their disciples leaving and becoming independent, and they like to hold on to their disciples. There are many gurus who become famous through advertising, publicizing. I remember being shot one time, riding in the subway, and there were 3 ads above me of a pretty well-known female guru advertising in the subway, not to miss a program. And I decided right away I better miss the program because it hadn't been my training with Sri Brahmananda. He said that when we're ready, we move magnetically, automatically, in the direction of the teachings, in the direction of those places that will open your heart and awaken you from a dream. And our Guru was very interested in our being independent ultimately. So he would tell, as I mentioned to you in the afternoon, during the meditation he would say, drop this, drop that, drop memory, drop attachments, and drop me also, he would say. You don't want me in the way. Of your direct contact with yourself. And that was very appealing. This ashram has met the needs of thousands of people over the years, and we're a very quiet ashram. You have to find us on the internet, but we managed to find people apparently who are ready for these high programs. These are called Yoga Vedanta programs, and they are considered the end of all knowledge. They incorporate other systems and other religions, but you can't go beyond Yoga Vedanta if you're looking for final answers. So these are the words of Sri Brahmananda, and you will hear why we felt he was a different kind of guru. He never used any force. He would encourage you to stay. He would be very persuasive, but he always said, no force. And when you heard no force, it felt like force. Because it was such a loving gesture to say, I know, when you're ready, you will come. I don't want to force you. But he was implying that you're going to be missing your enlightenment if you don't come. And this is what he said, just a few of his thoughts, his messages. The Guru cannot give his own enlightenment to another. Someone may be, meaning some gurus, seem to be spiritual magicians. They seem to be enlightened, and they may be enlightened. They may have powers of alchemy, magical powers, but still may not be able to produce another person like himself or herself, even though they are surrounded by thousands of seekers. Truth cannot be conveyed through language. Each individual has to experience his own truth in his or her own heart, because the experience of others cannot be one's own experience. And he said that while seated in front of people who had come to the ashram, hoping that an enlightened guru could just serve them on a silver spoon, freedom and peace and enlightenment. And he was saying, you're in the wrong place. If you expected to hear me say, just stay with me, and in the end, you will find your freedom and your peace. Never said that. He said, I can point out the way to you, but this is something you have to work for and be ready for on your own. The Guru stands as a light to direct the way, both within and without. And those who have the eye of wisdom are able to see and feel that light. The Guru is the highest, the greatest catalyst in our journey. And the Guru is the moving image of God. He is experienced by us according to our needs, our desires, and understanding. Very important sentence. He is experienced by us according to our needs, our desires, and understanding. Ultimately, the inner Guru, the outer Guru, and God, those three entities, the Sadguru that is within each one of us as a guiding light, the inner Guru and the outer Guru, the physical Guru, and God submerge into the reality that is called one without a second. First of all, I'm going to ask, it's such an important statement. Ultimately, the inner Guru, the outer Guru, and God submerge into the reality that is called one without a second. That's a very powerful phrase that's used often by the Gurus. What does that mean to you? The reality that is called one without a second. What is the meaning of one without a second? It's important to know that. One without a second means there's no other, there's no copy, there's no other, there are not two of those. Reality is not two. Reality is one reality. It's not the reality of one religion, the reality of another religion, the reality of one philosophy, the reality of no. Reality is one without a second. What's another definition of reality? I'm not asking the people who've heard me say what heard you say. Does anyone know how reality is defined, especially in Yoga Vedanta philosophy? What is real? That which shows
truth. I don't know.
The truth, but what is the truth? What is reality? You're right, they're one and the same. But what is reality? One without a second. In practical terms, Hanuman, you know.
That which cannot be changed.
That which does not change. Whenever he smiles, I know he knows the answer. When he was smiling, Hanuman smiled. That which undergoes no change. Does the mind change? Mm-hmm. So that's not real. Does the body change? Do the senses change? And yet we identify with the body, senses, mind as if that's a reality. So what is reality? What does not change in your life?
I am that. Just like the earlier chair.
And I am that, that's right, that. But Virgie would say, we're all too high, come down a little bit. What doesn't change in your life? In your awareness. Your awareness, or I can tell you, and I'm older than mostly everybody here, that maybe don't take your little That's not a bad thing, Judy. You both very well. Oh, don't say it. He's only 2 reads. But I can tell you, and I imagine you could say the same thing to me, that I first became aware of myself as a kind of witness when I was little, 5, 6, 7 years old. I remember having a sense of myself that was separate from my body. I remember feeling that. Like when my body was not well or had an earache or something. I had a knack of separating myself from the pain and going somewhere else in my imagination. Did anybody do that? Well, what I realized over the years, and I'm in my 70s now, is that that sense of myself hasn't changed. My body certainly has changed. My senses have changed, they've diminished. My mind changes all the time. But the witnessing eye that watches those changes, that feels very much like that same witness that was there when I was 7. How many of you can realize now that there has always been something unchanging, watching all the changes? Raise your hand. Well, that's astonishing, isn't it? Because you have your own direct experience that there is something apart that doesn't change. Ever young, Virgil described it as eternally young, eternally happy, eternally blissful, eternally quiet, that is motionless and changeless, watching everything that moves and changes. So Virgil is saying that ultimately the inner guru, the outer guru, and God, those 3, submerge into one, into the reality that is called one without a second. He put it very sweetly. I'm sure Karana remembers because we were all delighted to hear it. He said it takes lifetimes, but ultimately the disciples become gurus and the gurus become God. That's what he said. Ultimately, all of us become disciples. Ultimately, all of us become gurus, teachers, and ultimately, the gurus become God itself, just what he was saying. So, I like to ask, because Sri Brahmananda made such a point of it. He said, we should listen very carefully to readings or any programs that go on, because he said each program, each reading, each topic is custom designed for each one of us. We should be able at the end of this evening to find something absolutely new that we have never even considered, and maybe you've already heard it in the comments that were just made. But was there anything else in this short reading? It's from a booklet entitled How to Select, from an essay entitled How to Select a Guru. For me, I selected and remained with a guru who said, no, you don't have to stay with me. You can go to any guru, anyone that helps you. I said, this is the one I want to stay with. This is the one who doesn't need me. I need him. And then so many other honest statements. Did you hear anything that perked up your ears tonight from this short reading? The Guru cannot give his own enlightenment to another.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, Davis. Because so many of us cling to the Guru. We bother the Guru. He says, you know, he did incredible work in order to finally be in condition to receive the truth from his own Guru who's up there on the right. Shivanandas. But he went on long fasts. He advised us not to do that. He went on long pilgrimages. He studied more than anyone I know. One of the greatest scholars, pardon me, he was the greatest scholar I've ever known. Only to tell all of us after that long, arduous journey, you don't need to do all that. You just need to live as a witness. You need to live alive, not as dead products of other people's education, other people's impositions. You have to be awake and alive every minute of your life. And that's it. Minute. That's all you need. You want to read for your entertainment? You can do that. We said, what about your books? Guruji, you wrote books. How come you wrote books if you didn't want them, if you didn't want us to read them? He said, I wrote them so that I would be able to tell you they're not worthwhile. He said, in the first place, and then he qualified it, he said, they're worthwhile if you have your own direct experience first. Then they confirm that that was a true experience that you had. It's like some of you told me today that you were aware of that sound current, the anahat nadu. Well, if there was no testimony from an enlightened being, or a number of them, then there was meaning, special divine meaning to that sound, then it would have no significance for you. But reading about that sound and not having your own experience of that sound, that's useless. That's useless. Because when you're immersed in that sound, you don't remember anything. But when you have that experience first, or you have an amazing revelation or epiphany as a result of this program tonight, that will stand as proof that your experience was accurate. That's what books are for. But they're not to give you enlightenment or to give you the knowledge we really need, to go back to the knowledge we've had all along. We have that knowledge, the real knowledge, but we're sleeping. It's like the sun behind a cloud. The clouds of ignorance and wrong education, wrong information have to be moved aside so you radiate the truth that you are. That's what he told us. I'm only repeating. And Karen was here. She's an old disciple in years here. She was ready to stand up and say, that's not true. If she hears them. She'll tell me privately, but so far she hasn't done it. Was there anything other than the points I mentioned that came as a surprise in these words for you? You don't have to say. As Guruji would say, no force. But sometimes Guruji's words are very surprising. So take a deep breath. And now as you breathe out, release all the language, all the words. This will only be 60 seconds. So feel yourself letting go and opening up to this now. Feeling it, perceiving it, imbibing it. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute to reconnect with your real life, your real home. I am that I am. That is our home. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer? Thank you, Krishna Devi. And if some of you are feeling very high, that you may need a designated driver, take 2 cookies. Chocolate chip is a great way to come back to earth.